Hi, welcome to ArkIntel. 25 years ago, Europe promised unity through a single currency. Today, the same currency may be the crack that tears the continent apart. When the euro first appeared on balance sheets in 1999 and in wallets by 2002, it was a symbol of ambition, proof that Europe could integrate not just politically but financially. 25 years later, it's the second most used currency in the world, covering 20 countries and binding 350 million people. But in 2025, its silver anniversary feels more like a warning. Eurozone debt is climbing again. The European Central Bank is holding rates at delicate lows. North and South are locked in an endless fiscal tug-of-war. And the question looming over Europe is no longer whether the euro works, but whether it can survive. The eurozone was created to eliminate exchange rate risk, expand cross-border trade, and shield Europe from speculative attacks. But even at its birth, critics asked the question Europe never fully answered. How can a single monetary policy work for economies so different? Germany is a disciplined exporter with a savings surplus. Italy, Spain, and Greece carry high debt, weaker productivity, and a history of fiscal strain. In good times, those contrasts were easy to ignore. In downturns, they become fault lines. The numbers show the pressure building. At the end of 2024, the euro area government debt stood at 87.4% of GDP. By the first quarter of 2025, it had risen to 88%, equal to nearly 13 trillion euros in obligations. The eurozone's deficit in 2024 was 3.1% of GDP, just within EU rules, but still far from the bloc's long-term targets. Meanwhile, the European Central Bank has shifted sharply from its pandemic-era stance. After cutting rates aggressively in early 2025, it has now frozen them. The main refinancing rate at 2.15%, the deposit facility at 2%, and the marginal lending rate at 2.40%. Its September 2025 decision to keep them unchanged reflects caution, but also exposes its dilemma. Loosen too far and risk inflation roaring back. Hold too tight and risk strangling growth in already fragile economies. On the surface, the euro looks stable, but averages conceal dangerous divergences. Beneath them lies a deeper truth. One currency is being stretched across economies, moving in opposite directions. The eurozone is not a single economy. It is a marriage of opposites. In the north, countries like Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, and Finland pride themselves on fiscal discipline. Their governments run tighter budgets, their economies are steadier, and voters demand restraint above all else. Stability is their brand and their bargaining chip. In the south, the numbers tell a starkly different story. In early 2025, Greece's debt was still around 152.5% of GDP. Italy stood at 137.9%, France at 114.1%, Spain at 103.5%, Belgium at 106.8%. These figures don't just breach Europe's official ceiling of 60%, they shatter it. Growth is sluggish, unemployment is higher, and political pressures to spend outweigh the calls for restraint. This divide fuels into two different visions of the euro. The North demands strict rules and punishment for deficits. The South pleads for solidarity and shared responsibility. Every EU summit replays the same battle: fiscal orthodoxy against political reality. And behind these arguments is the question no one dares answer. How long can one currency serve two Europes pulling in opposite directions? If prosperity stays uneven, the cracks widen. And when the next crisis strikes, those cracks could be the very fault lines where the euro finally breaks. If the euro is to last another 25 years, Europe cannot simply drift. It must make choices, bold ones. One option is deeper fiscal integration. Shared European bonds, so-called Eurobonds, would pool risk, lower borrowing costs for weaker members, and create a safe asset rivaling US treasuries. But politically, this means German taxpayers implicitly back Italian debt, a hard sell in Berlin. Another path is stricter enforcement of rules. The Stability and Growth Pact has been flouted for years, with deficits routinely exceeding limits. Europe could impose automatic sanctions, strip away political discretion, and even give Brussels veto power over national budgets. That would restore discipline, but would inflame accusations of lost sovereignty. The third frontier is ECB reform. Transparency measures, publishing full voting records and explanations, could restore legitimacy. Expanding its mandate to act as a true lender of last resort for sovereign debt would end speculation about member exits. But that would drag the ECB into politics and blur the line between monetary and fiscal power. Each solution carries dangers. Integration risks moral hazard. Enforcement risks populist backlash. ECB expansion risks politicization. But doing nothing carries the greatest danger of all: slow erosion, creeping divergence, and the eventual fragmentation of Europe's currency. The euro's collapse, if it comes, will not be sudden. It will be silent. A little more divergence in bond yields here, a little more populist anger there, one more government breaching deficit rules without consequence. Then, when confidence is already brittle, a shock hits, a recession, a banking crisis, a political rupture. Suddenly, the markets test the weakest link, and without trust in the ECB or in fiscal solidarity, the pressure becomes unbearable. Each time Europe faces turbulence, leaders scramble to patch the system. Emergency bailouts, rushed refinancing schemes, temporary exemptions. These fixes buy time, but they also raise expectations that someone will always step in. The longer this cycle continues, the greater the risk that one day markets stop believing the patches will hold. And if that day arrives, the euro itself becomes a crisis. Investors dump southern bonds, capital flees to the north, banking systems fracture along national lines. The very currency meant to unite Europe would accelerate its fragmentation, turning a symbol of stability into the trigger of collapse. The euro was not built to fail, but it was built on compromise, and compromises can break. On its 25th birthday, the euro is both an achievement and a warning. It binds together the world's second largest economy. It symbolizes a continent's attempt to act as one. But it is also fragile, suspended between unity and division, soaring ambition and stubborn reality. The question for Europe is simple. Will it integrate further to preserve the project, or cling to national red lines until the cracks widened into a break? The euro was created to unify Europe. Its survival will depend on whether Europe is willing to make sacrifices for the sake of that unity. If you found this video thought-provoking, make sure to check out why Japan's lost decades still matter today. In this video, we uncover how Japan went from post-war miracle to decades of stagnation, revealing how asset bubbles, aging demographics, and deflation triggered an economic decline that now haunts major economies worldwide. Click the video to watch now.